What if the headlines that shake our world are not merely chaos,
but a celestial language? Could the great and tumultuous events we see on the grand stage of nations be whispers of a deeper, divine narrative unfolding before our very eyes? Why do some hearts tremble with fear, while others find a steadfast peace that surpasses all understanding? Stay with me, for the truth we are about to explore could forever anchor your soul in unshakable hope. Welcome, cherished friends, to Pure Mind. Think, your sanctuary for finding divine clarity in a world of noise. Today, we embark on a profound spiritual journey, a prophetic update not to stir fear, but to awaken faith. We will travel from the ancient, windswept plains of the Holy Land, where prophecies were first etched in stone, to the quiet solitude of a prayer closet, where the fate of nations is decided. We will explore the signs of our times, the trials that test our resolve, and the glorious, unwavering promise that in the midst of every storm, the Creator is preparing His return to help and gather His people. If you are ready to shift your perspective from fear to faith, and to place your trust in the one who holds tomorrow, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell. Let us begin this sacred exploration together. Have you ever stood before the vast, rolling ocean, watching the powerful waves crash upon the shore? The sheer force can be awe-inspiring, even intimidating. Our world today feels much like that ocean. We turn on the news, and we are met with a tide of great and tumultuous events. We hear of escalating conflicts in the Middle East, a tense standoff between nations like Israel and Iran. We see headlines about personnel and military families being moved from areas that could become hotspots for war. A sense of unease settles upon the heart. It is natural to feel a tremor of anxiety when the foundations of the world seem to be shaking. The ancient prophets, in their wisdom, often spoke of such times. They saw visions of nations rising against nations, of rumors of wars, that would cause the hearts of men to fail them for fear. Yet, within these very prophecies, there was always a second layer, a quieter truth. A wise man once shared a piece of prophetic wisdom with me, a key to unlock a deeper understanding of these times. He said, "When you see the large news, you must always watch for the small news." What a profound statement! It means that while the world's attention is fixed on the great, crashing waves of geopolitical events, there is often a quieter, more subtle current moving beneath the surface. There is another story, another purpose, another plan being worked out in the spiritual realm. In the great traditions of faith, we are reminded that nothing happens by chance. The Creator, in His infinite wisdom, uses the grand stage of history to speak to those who have ears to hear. While the world sees only conflict, the discerning heart sees the fulfillment of ancient words. Think of the great tapestry of history. From a distance, it may look like a chaotic jumble of threads, but up close, each thread is woven with divine intention. The rise and fall of empires, the shifting of borders, the conflicts that define generations, they are all part of a larger, celestial design. In the Christian Gospels, Jesus spoke of these very things. He told His followers not to be alarmed when they heard of wars and uprisings, for these things must happen, but the end is still to come. This is not a message of doom, but one of divine perspective. It is a call to lift our eyes from the frightening waves and fix them upon the lighthouse, the unshakable truth of the Creator's sovereignty. When we see nations like Iran post defiant messages on the world stage, declaring "We are ready for you," our first response may be fear, but our second response, guided by faith, can be peace. We can recognize it as a sign, a marker on a prophetic timeline that has been laid out for millennia. This is not about predicting the hour or the day, but about recognizing the season. And in this season, we are called not to fear, but to watch, to pray, and to understand that a divine purpose is at work, even in the heart of the storm. Let us now turn our gaze from the conflicts between nations to the battles that rage within them. As we journey in our minds to the bustling city squares and university campuses of our own nation, we see another kind of turmoil. We see protests and riots, a spirit of unrest that seeks to divide and destabilize. Many look upon these scenes and see only anger and chaos. They see a generation adrift, fueled by ideologies that seem foreign to the values we hold dear. We hear reports of these movements being funded by shadowy sources, of pallets of bricks, mysteriously appearing, of people being compensated to sow discord. It is easy to feel a sense of despair, to wonder what has become of our society, but again, let us apply that sacred wisdom. When you see the large news, watch the small news. The large news is the riot, the protest, the shouting. The small news, the quieter truth, is that this, too, is a spiritual sign. A wise prophetic mentor of mine often spoke of a vision he called Decapus. It is a biblical term, meaning 10 cities. In his vision, he saw 10 cities burning symbolically at the same time, not necessarily with literal fire, but with the fires of anarchy, division, and chaos. For years, this vision felt distant, but today, as we see unrest flaring up simultaneously in multiple places, from LA to Texas and beyond, we can see the echoes of this prophetic picture. We see a spirit attempting to bring our nation to its knees, to induce a kind of civil war, a war of values, a war for the very soul of the nation. The goal of this chaos, from a spiritual perspective, is often distraction. While all eyes are on the internal fires, a greater threat may be preparing to strike on the global stage. This is a classic tactic of the adversary: create a fire in the living room, so you don't notice the thief breaking in through the back door. In the great spiritual text of the world, from the Bhagavad Gita to the Quran, we are warned against being deceived by illusion, or Maya. We are encouraged to look beyond the surface level chaos and perceive the deeper reality. When we see these internal fires being stoked, we must ask ourselves, what are we being distracted from? The answer often lies in the global arena, where nations posture and prepare for conflicts that could reshape the world. So how do we, as people of faith, respond to this? Not with anger, not with political division, but with prayer and spiritual authority. The Bible teaches that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. This is a spiritual battle, and it requires spiritual weapons. We are called to stand against the spirit of anarchy and division, not by joining the shouting, but by releasing words of peace, unity, and divine order. We are called to pray for our nation, for its leaders, and for a revival of the heart that will quench these destructive fires. This is the small news. We must focus on the quiet, powerful work of intercession that can change the spiritual atmosphere of a nation. This vision corresponds with the tense global situation we are now witnessing, as we see the U.S. moving personnel from the Middle East, as we hear world leaders speak with grim determination about a nation like Iran not being allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon. This vision takes on a profound urgency. We are living in a very serious window of time. There are whispers and back-channel conversations about strikes and nuclear activity. The threat of a global nuclear war, a fear that has haunted humanity for generations, feels closer than it has in a very long time. How does one process such a heavy and frightening possibility? The human spirit recoils from such thoughts. Our instinct is to turn away, to dismiss it as fear-mongering, to hope that reason will prevail, and we must pray for reason to prevail. We must stand against any loss of life, any form of war, any action that brings destruction, but faith does not call us to ignorance, it calls us to a higher reality. The message, the Church is, the nuclear deterrent, is not a political statement, it is a spiritual one. It speaks to a power that transcends armies and arsenals. In many faiths, there is the concept of a righteous remnant, a community of believers whose prayers and devotion act as a form of spiritual protection for the world around them. In the biblical story of Abraham, he intercedes for the city of Sodom, asking God if he would spare it for the sake of just 10 righteous people. This story reveals a profound spiritual principle: the presence and prayers of the faithful have the power to avert disaster. The power is not in the people themselves, but in the Creator to whom they pray. The Church, in its truest sense, is not a building, but a global body of believers. Their collective prayers, their unified faith, their stand for righteousness, these is the spiritual force that can act as a deterrent to the forces of destruction. This is the ultimate small news that can change the large news. It is the quiet, unseen power of prayer that can detour nuclear war. Thank you for joining me on this profound journey with Pure Mind Think. Please, let us know in the comments, what part of this message resonated with you the most. Your story encourages us all. Until we meet again, may you rest in His peace, walk in His strength, and live in the joyful expectation of His return.